Today on Locked On Rockies, dropped series finale, but things are okay from that series. Things to be positive about, especially in one key area the Rockies are showing improvement in throughout the season.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 15th day of June in the year 2023. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. We're also free and streaming on the Sirius XM app. You can find us also on Sirius Radio. Check out, just search Rockies, and you'll be taken where you need to go. Locked On Rockies will take you to us here. You can also be part of the show. When you subscribe to Locked On Rockies, you'll know when we go live. So you can jump into the live chat, fire up your Rockies hot takes, and more. Be part of the growing Locked On Rockies community. Shout outs to my everydayers out there. Today's episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by eBay Motors. The championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for the parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. We're going to talk about the series. We're going to talk about the start from Austin Gomber. We're going to talk about a member of the Rockies feeling confident in their performance and in their role for the Colorado Rockies from our friends at Purple Row, an article there. But I wanted to start with, I think you could tell the big major difference and the big reason why the Rockies were able to eke out two close wins in the series was the Rockies are playing much better defense. And that's highlighted, of course, by Brenton Doyle being a very, very good center field defensively. That play he made diving for that ball was an incredible example of what he's capable of and what happens when the Rockies can turn to some of these guys that are a little bit faster. And it highlights really what it does show is how important center field as a position is, especially for the Rockies. I mean, this is an away game, of course, at a weird ballpark, but being able to cover that ground, being able to be efficient at reeling in those plays, and then making those spectacular diving plays, those are the things that are going to make them more effective players at Coors Field. And I'm talking a little bit about Nolan Jones as well after his stellar defense there. I loved seeing the Rockies just be much more confident in their defense at this point in the season. It certainly seems like there's not a lot of doubt necessarily with this team as much as it felt like there was in the beginning of the year now with the shifted around positions. And we're seeing young guys and different people play second base a lot. We're seeing some mix up there. But the young guys are really impressing with the defense. It's something that as we're looking to take away from this season and where we're looking to see where the Rockies have improved on, man, oh man, have the Rockies gotten better on defense. The Rockies currently, according to teamrankings.com, do not have a player here within the top, 10, 20 of errors committed this season. And we saw that on full display here this weekend where the Red Sox have two. It's kind of a big tie with a lot of people, obviously. But, I mean, Enrique Hernandez has 14 errors on the season, and that's double the next Red Sox there with Rafael Devers. But for two big names on your team, especially when you're playing in a highly competitive division and when you're a team with, that kind of has higher aspirations like the Red Sox do, you can't have two players going out there and putting out these over 20 errors on just two of your starters alone. I mean, and that was and those errors proved to be fatal for the Red Sox. And then Connor Wong also there, the Red Sox catcher, has 6 errors on the season. I'm scrolling down this list to find the first Rockies player here, and it appears it's Ezekiel Tovar and Ryan McMahon here with 4 errors apiece, tied up with a bunch of people. And I mean, you have to scroll pretty far down though until you see a Rockies player. And that's an improvement from where the Rockies were, where they were literally throwing games away at the beginning of the season. And when you're playing, it's even if you're a young guy like Tovar, those errors might happen, but we already know that he's just going to get better as a defender. And Ryan McMahon is proving to once again be an elite defensive third baseman. The Rockies are much better with those two on the left side of the infield than we saw with De La Ruiz Montero. And that's leading to that defense, and that poor defense is literally leading to a complete reevaluation of Montero and where he fits into the lineup. Speaking of that guy needs to get into more games. I'm hoping I didn't lose a Montero demotion there, but I'm sure we're not with the current injury status to the Rockies and things. But offense isn't really my focus here, even though the Rockies could always use more offense and be more offensive minded and offensive focused. It was really great to see the Rockies. It's been really great to see the Rockies improve on defense. And you can see, like we said, good defense won the Rockies this series. I mean, a great tagging play at home from Elias Diaz on a missed slide opportunity from the Red Sox there. Play off the left, off the monster, a great way to cut down some runs. I mean, the Rockies showed in this series that they are much better. They are getting better and continue to get better on defense, which is a must for this team that has a lot of pitchers that induce contact and are going to pitch to contact and have a lot of batters there. Unfortunately, it didn't necessarily work out too well for Austin Gomber in yesterday's start. Let's talk more about Austin Gomber, and we'll talk a little bit more about this series, which again, good, solid win for the Rockies on the road to go out and do this. Go into Fenway, handle business. Yesterday got a little out of hand there, and too many missed opportunities for the Rockies in last night's ball game. But it ain't getting any easier. And for the Rockies to kind of see again, for a little taste of the Rockies wanting to feel, legit. If if you can go into Fenway and go into Atlanta with 2-winning series, that's nice. Overall, it doesn't necessarily convince me that the Rockies are legit, and it's not going to necessarily make a huge impact on the overall standings, but it can show the Rockies can go out on the road and win and take down good teams, above 500 teams. The Red Sox were a 500 team, so not technically above 500, but close before the Rockies came into town. And now they're heading to play a really good Braves team to really test what this team is capable of doing on the road. 4 games against the Braves. It could let's see what that'll be for the Rockies as well. But let's talk about the Rockies starter. Let's talk about break down the start from last night from Austin Gomber and look ahead for Austin Gomber as well. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about our friends at Birddogs. Birddogs is the place for you to find your shorts for the summer. And I've got them on right now. They're perfect for a guy like me. They make you look better, you look more stylish, and they got the sweat wicking, the anti-stink fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. It's you got this great look with khaki, but also comfortable. They do indeed feel like gym shorts. And guess what? You can go get yourself one of these guys, a cool little Birddogs Yeti-style tumbler, when you head to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedonmlb for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. Trust me, you won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and the SiriusXM radio, the SiriusXM app. You can find us by searching Locked On Rockies. You can also search YouTube Locked On Rockies. Subscribe to the show. Know when we go live and be part of it. Join the Locked On Rockies YouTube community and more. It's one of the easiest ways you can help the show grow and help us do what we do around here at Locked On Rockies. I'm Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, following this team my entire life and bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk now for 3 seasons. And speaking of 3 seasons, and speaking of this, yesterday was the familiar Austin Gomber experience. And it's, again, a concern where I really do think the best version of Austin Gomber is out of the bullpen because of his efficiency when he is in control and when he does have dominance in a game and great control of his pitching. He is certainly a threat, especially with some of that off-speed stuff. But when I think the opposition has multiple chances to go through, I think Gomber struggles in handling the batting order a few times going through. In this game yesterday, for example, the Red Sox didn't score until the fourth. And actually, no, I'm sorry. That was a wrong game. Sorry. Hold on. Rewind. The Red Sox jumped out ahead early, but then, this kind of contradicts what I'm saying a little bit here, though, especially is because Red Sox jump out early, but then Gomber holds him off to the board in the bottom of the seventh where things get real shaky there. Great. The best part about the Gomber start yesterday was getting to that sixth inning mark, unfortunately, but and keeping it to the one walk. So there's not necessarily, it wasn't a horrible start by any means. It's just, I think he's truly more effective when he doesn't have that situation where it all falls apart at the end, because it seems like so many times we go through these games with Austin Gomber and he's grooving, and then it just flat out falls apart. And that was on full display for the Rockies yesterday in the loss. I mean, the Rockies go into the seventh with a 2-1 lead, and then it all falls apart there with 5 runs. And Gomber's attributed to 3 of those earned runs there, with Brent Suter being attributed with 2 of the runs that were let up there. 5 of the 6 runs let in by Gomber and Suter. So Suter, again, didn't pick up the slack for Gomber. Gomber was someone that the Rock, it wasn't not going to get the win, of course, but the game wasn't out of hand due to just solely Austin Gomber. And when Brent Suter comes in and struggles thereafter and doesn't finish the inning, that's also adds to the trouble. So when we're breaking down and looking at the Austin Gomber performance, it's not horrendous, but again, not dominant. And we've seen signs of this where it kind of just falls. We're seeing it fall apart later in games. In the last 3 starts, Austin Gomber has given up at least 6 hits, and a much better start for him this time than his start against San Diego when he gave up 7 runs. The walks have decreased for Gomber, and he did get the 5 strikeouts, which is great for Gomber to get into that 5 strikeout range. So improvement there, but still, we see as we see in the 2 struggling starts before, they had his number early, and they kept seeing Gomber, and they were able to do tremendous damage. When they got to the 3rd time in the order, when the Red Sox were getting an additional opportunity, they were able to take advantage of it, put up 3 runs, and get the 6 hits off of them. I say this all as it just seems to me Gomber, it would be very effective in that 6th, 7th, 8th inning, 6th, 7th inning, set up your 8th. You got Bard, you got Lawrence. That seems like a pretty good way to handle it, especially with Austin Gomber, because he can handle multiple innings. He can, and the Rockies need him to start. I know this. I do know this. But I just think where the Rockies could get the most out of Austin Gomber would be coming from the bullpen. It's not going to happen this year. The Rockies need him to start. He's still plenty capable. Again, if you're capable of starting 6 innings for the Rockies right now as a veteran pitcher, they need you. They need you to do that, and they need Gomber to be better. I mean, that's plain and simple. But at least with the roller coaster of Gomber, we're on the part where we hopefully hit the dip and we're on the upswing. I just think you'd see less variance and you'd see less extremes in the splits of Austin Gomber and in the stats of Austin Gomber if he was solely out of the bullpen. This is just talking, zooming out. If all the pieces were there and when all the pieces were working, who's to say if the Rockies were fully healthy, they would have Connor Siebold or Chase Anderson if they would have gone in that same direction? Maybe. But then that would have all, if you do that and and again, with the young guys the Rockies were using earlier in the year before injury, you start kind of looking and you do start wondering where Gomber fits into that rotation. And it does seem to me that it would be better out of the bullpen. I know he wants to start. I think I believe he wants to start. I think that's what he's said. And I think that's the pitcher's mindset. When you've been a starter for so long, when you want to start ball games and you want to help your team win. But I think if the Rockies, the best version of Austin Gomber the Rockies are going to get is going to come out of the pen. When they get to see that version, I don't know, because it's going to be a long time before the Rockies don't need someone like Austin Gomber or a pitcher of veteran status that can throw you 6 innings. I don't know that need for the Rockies ain't going away anytime soon, especially this year. Austin Gomber this year is currently sitting at a negative 0.7 WAR, going 4-6 on the year with a 7.29 ERA in 14 starts, 66 innings, 44 strikeouts in that time, a 1.695 whip for him in that one. It's I don't know. It's tough because I do feel for Gomber and I do feel for the stuff we've talked about before. I do really believe that he can be more effective, especially if he can manage to, come out of the bullpen, get 3 strikeouts in an appearance. That'd really be great for the Rockies. The strikeouts kind of still vary. It's still not likely. In the last 5 starts for Gomber, 5 strikeouts. That is his last time striking out 5 was in the last appearance in his last 5 starts. But the good sign, at least one thing to look at here when you're looking at Gomber and his last 5 starts as well. Rockies are 3-2 in the last Austin Gomber starts. So that he's usually doing enough to keep the Rockies in ball games, but also backed up from some offense as well. But still, it's not out of these starts. 3 of the 5 starts are 4 innings is where they top out. That's a concerning trend. And that's where, again, I see that's where it's that bullpen like potential, that bullpen type fit might work for Gomber. So, like I said, long ways away until that happens and until the Rockies can go back to that, because he's a starting pitcher or good enough to start. And yeah, he is going to continue to be a part of this rotation. Let's keep the focus on the pitching here and talk a little bit about an article in Purple Row that I found interesting, especially because, as I've talked about, someone that I have really, really enjoyed watching this year and really, really been enjoying watching lately. Let's talk about that here coming up in segment number 3. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, free and streaming on your favorite streaming service and also available on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. Just search Locked On Rockies or Rockies. Get all your Rockies coverage, get the play-by-play action, everything you need Rockies. Just search that there on the app or on SiriusXM. Want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Want to thank you for being an everydayer and checking out all of what we do here and checking us out on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel where you can be part of the show. Over on Purple Row, they write Justin Lawrence is thriving under pressure. This is from Evan Lang. There's no doubt that Colorado Rockies reliever Justin Lawrence has come a long way. Once a rookie getting sporadic playing time with the big league club, Lawrence has developed into one of the Rockies' most used and most useful bullpen arms. With a worn down and beleaguered rotation, Lawrence has been turned to often out of the Rockies' bullpen. He's pitched the 5th most relief innings in Major League Baseball at 38 and is tied for 9th in appearances with 31 so far. He and fellow teammate Jake Bird have pitched the most innings of relief for the Rockies, and it's not particularly close. Lawrence made an adjustment here from 2021. So here's the changes that Lawrence made in 2022 to get to where he's at. He eased up on the throttle, sacrificing a few ticks of velocity on his sinker in exchange for better command. He didn't just shave a few points off his walks per 9. He cut it more than in half. Lawrence's 2022 walks per 9 went all the way down to 4.6, and he also saw improvements in his hits per 9 and strikeout per 9. Lawrence's mechanical changes also resulted in more movement on his pitches. His sinker gained more vertical break, while his slider gained more horizontal break. So that wasn't all, though. There was still adjustments to be made here, and that led all the way up into this season. Speaking with Ryan Spielborgs on an episode of The Club on AT&T Sports, Lawrence detailed his mechanical adjustments further, He's altered his pitching movement and positioning based on researching and talking to other sidearm pitchers across the league. His most noticeable change has been the slider, which he converted into an absolutely devastating sweeper, with up to 14.5 inches of horizontal break and 33.25 inches of vertical drop. Lawrence's sweeper is capable of making opposing batters look silly. He also utilizes it much more often, forming more of a right jab, left hook combo than having a primary second hook. That's kind of exactly what I'm hoping for in terms of Justin Lawrence, and what I'm hoping to see from him is those devastating pitches. He does have the confidence. The walks are still a little bit of an issue there, and still higher than I'd like, but compared to 2021 and 2022, more appearances for in high leverage situations. His strikeouts are up. The batting averages have plummeted. The OBP has plummeted. The slugging has plummeted. And the OPS has plummeted. Justin Lawrence is getting better. Justin Lawrence is improving. And Justin Lawrence is someone that is someone that you should feel confident in going to. That's the type of arm to feel confident and excited about coming out of the bullpen. Something with devastating movement, something with a devastating style of pitching that completely throws people off guard and completely makes them, vulnerable to these devastating pitches. Good luck trying to hit when Justin Lawrence is in command, trying to hit that sweeper. It literally looks impossible. It looks like it breaks over it starts in the other batter's box and it breaks over across the plate at the last second. And you can tell that he feels confident going up into these situations. The Rockies turning to him so much has instilled confidence in this young arm, and him seeing the situation currently with the Rockies also makes him understand that he has to be someone that is a leader on this team. And I believe he's ready to do so, and he's demonstrating it. He is getting better, not worse. We're not seeing regression from Justin Lawrence because we've been seeing him now for a couple of seasons. We've seen him in certain situations. We've seen we have seen some issues this year too, but you can't sit there and say that this is not the best version of Justin Lawrence that we've seen during his time with the Rockies and so far this year. I do believe that he is going to be the closer for this team sooner rather than later, but maybe they're still hesitant when it comes to the maybe the arm matchups or things like that. But these numbers don't lie. And Evan over here agrees with, I think kind of agrees with me, at least implies so in the article. There's a lot more in this piece that you got to go read. I didn't read all of it. So please go read more of it. But I truly think that the Rockies might be in a better situation if Bard can be your setup and Lawrence is your closer. And I don't know if I'm alone in that. I want to go back to here on Purple Row, Evan Lang writing. Because of his ability to pitch in single inning high leverage situations this season, I think Lawrence, that's Evan saying, I think Lawrence is more suited than perhaps anyone else to take over the mantle of closer with Pierce Johnson removed from the role. Should Daniel Bard not take his spot back, the Rockies should seriously consider handing Lawrence the ball in the ninth. Even if he isn't the closer, we have seen Justin Lawrence adjust and develop every season of his career to become the pitcher we see today. The Lion of Panama, with his unique arm action, long mane of hair, and ability to fearlessly navigate out of difficult situations, makes him a vital member of the Rockies bullpen. I couldn't have said it any better myself. I've preached about it, and the highlighting and the preview that we did in the offseason, it's coming to fruition a little bit more with Justin Lawrence so far this season. I still think that he can get a little bit sharper. He can get a little bit better. But that line, especially in the high leverage situations, demonstrates and proves that he should be the Rockies closer. And again, from Purple Row, they put this together. 55 plate appearances Justin Lawrence has been a part of here in high leverage situations here. Let's see. I believe here we go. Lawrence has seen 96 late and close plate appearances. In these plate appearances, Lawrence is holding opposing batters to a line of just 173, 280, 259 with 24 strikeouts to 11 walks. He is similarly dominating batters in overall high leverage situations, much more so than either of his previous two seasons. That line is 128, 241, 213, OPS of 454, with 11 strikeouts to 6 walks. It's critical. it shows that Lawrence is able to handle the situation. And not only is he getting outs, he's getting strikeouts, devastating strikeouts, which are so crucial and so clutch for the Rockies to get late in games, especially when you have so much of that pitch to contact philosophy and you have other starters that aren't necessarily blowing away or dominating pitchers as well. When you're able to have someone like Lawrence come out of the bullpen with a completely different approach than any other pitcher in your rotation, as well as velocity, movement, and speed, that's what makes him so unique, and that's what makes him such a great option for the Colorado Rockies out of the bullpen. Can't wait to see what Justin Lawrence does, and can't wait to see how the rest of the season pans out for him. I think he's really someone to be excited about by the Rockies, and extremely excited or you should be extremely encouraged by what he's doing with the club so far here in 2023. When you can see the trends of improvement over years, that's the important thing. He's getting better than last year, and he's improving, and he has the chance. And he's already appeared in more high leverage situations. The trust is already built within the Rockies as well. Let's hope Justin Lawrence keeps hanging on and keep doing what he do. Because I love his vibe, love his energy, love the sweeper, love the Frisbee emojis. I love it all about Justin Lawrence. So continue to see that. Rockies got the big-time baddies, Atlanta Braves, coming up next, the 42-26 Atlanta Braves. They are playing at home, and this is a team that's really, really good and doesn't have any trouble beating the bad teams. Well, I guess the Tigers almost stole the series there, losing only by 1 run in yesterday's game. But Braves take 2 of 3 from the Tigers and took 2 of 3 from the Nationals, swept the Mets, and took 2 of 3. They have not lost a series in 4 series, but the Athletics were the last one to beat the Braves in a series. But team that's playing great baseball and a team that continues to play good baseball. The Braves will be a menace. We'll be talking about all series, all things to look at, and breaking down game number 1 here on the Locked On Rockies podcast tomorrow, because that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for being your first listen of the day. We appreciate you tuning in and hanging out with us here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Find us on the SiriusXM app or wherever you find your podcasts. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. I'm Paul Holden. You can find me at Paul Holden 33. Follow the show on Twitter at LO Rockies. And folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.